Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Season 10, Episode 55, overall 550 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you. You can email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969, and yours truly has been a customer of Barry Cullen Chevrolet for the last 25 years. I hope everybody's having a great Monday morning on this June 16th, 2025. And I'm looking forward to my guest today. This is going to be her first appearance on my show, and I've already done a live in-person interview with her 6 weeks ago in Waterloo, Ontario, and I'm excited to have her on today. Her name is Denise Bodán. She is the CEO and executive producer and a filmmaker in the Kitchener-Waterloo area, and they just made a little TV series, documentary series for Bell Fibe TV called The Ropes, and we're going to bring Denise Bodán on right now. Good morning, Denise. How are you?
Good morning, Chris, and all of your viewers. How are you today?
I am doing okay on this Monday morning. I'm just trying to get caught up from my trip to Toronto on Saturday, where I was doing some media work for the Toronto Argonauts. And as you know, Denise, I'm constantly creating content.
Yes, I mean, that's how we got connected. You coming out to our set as we were shooting in the heart of Kitchener-Waterloo in Uptown Waterloo for our series called The Ropes.
And I want to give a little shout out to the person that arranged this, because without them, I wouldn't have met you in the Ropes. And that's Natasha, aka the Bad Nanny.
Yes, Bad Nanny. Natasha's a lovely asset to our crew, and she played the librarian in our show. So we'll definitely get into a bit more details about that, but we very much appreciate Natasha and everything that she's brought to us.
What was the story behind meeting Natasha in the first place?
Well, I guess we have to start at the very beginning. I was approached by a writer with a script, and it had to do with backyard wrestling. And I think, like most millennial people, especially, getting into our late 30s, getting into our 40s, a lot of us were big WWE fans. So we grew up with that. I mean, we're from the D Generation X, I don't know, for censorship purposes, I won't say their slogan, but we all know what we're talking about. And I think
you can go ahead. You can say it.
Love it. So, I mean, that was the generation that we really grew up in. So wrestling, I think, has always been really a big part of my life. I grew up with it, watching it with my cousins, taking a couple sharpshooters and a tombstone, and then, being bribed with popsicles so I wouldn't be crying and tell my dad. And so when this script fell into my lap and I started reading it, I just felt so nostalgic, and I was like super excited to be able to bring this concept to life. So to be able to bring it to Kitchener-Waterloo and start getting involved with the wrestling community was really exciting for me. And that's actually how I met Natasha, just going to shows, getting myself out there, meeting the community, because that's what's important, right? Like filmmakers, we're a very small, tight-knit community. We all know one another. So we all have to band together to make things happen. And I think the wrestling community plays into that as well.
Denise, I just had a guest on my other show last week. She's a stand-up comedian in the Philadelphia area, but she's also now a wrestling ring announcer because I guess somehow she got invited to a wrestling show as a stand-up comedian, and they needed a ring announcer, and now she is hooked on wrestling and loves the storytelling aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what happened here. I mean, I really just started with this small script about a family in Kitchener-Waterloo that's just obsessed with backyard wrestling. And it turned into, now I have amazing friends within the wrestling community that want to push this show even further. And they've brought in all of their own talents. We worked with Off the Rope Studio, which is one of the only female-owned wrestling studios in Ontario. And they are one of our sponsors. They trained our people. They provided us with a ring as well. And then again, that's how we were introduced with Bad Nanny. I went to a show and we really started building that relationship together.
When I started my media career 5.5 years ago, with a local wrestling company, they're not in business anymore, led by Big Ben Ortmans, and I went down there and I did some media coverage, and some of my earliest interviews that I did, switching careers into radio and media, was through Crossbody Pro Wrestling, and I want to say thank you to Big Ben Ortmans for giving me that opportunity. And even though it's wrestling, everybody talks about it. Oh, it's not legit, but it's like it is. It's storytelling, it's athleticism, and there's a lot of work behind the scenes as well as for the wrestlers. They put a lot of dedication into it. It's a passion from what I've seen.
And I'm very familiar with Crossbody Studios here in Cambridge. We were actually going to be working with them as well, unfortunately, just because of everything that kind of happened on their end, which is very sad. I hate to see things like that happen, especially within the wrestling community where you put your heart and your soul into everything. So big shout out to Ben. He was a great help in the beginning when we were consulting. So thank you to him. And yeah, like it's a beautiful community. It's something that you really have to love and have a passion for. If you don't love and have a passion for this, you're not going to want to go out there and get slammed onto a ring every single night. You're not.
And from what I've seen too with the fans, there's no political stuff. It's just rooting for your favorite male, female wrestler, and it kind of unites everybody from what I see.
It does unite people. It brings all different classes of people from different areas of life, and you're just there to watch a good show, to be entertained, and to, like, cheer and boo for all of your favorites or your non-favorites. And I think that's what I really loved going into my first wrestling show in downtown Kitchener. It was just the vibration that you feel in there. It's people who really love this and they live and they breathe it, which is the exact same thing with our Kitchener-Waterloo family. So our Kitchener-Waterloo family, they are called the McKelveys, and they are a wrestling obsessed family. They have created their own backyard league, and that's where our story basically takes place. The patriarch of the family decides to bet the backyard against his arch nemesis, who also happens to be his brother-in-law, and he loses the backyard. So the remainder of the season is them trying to win it back as a family and as a community. So through different events, right, through different indie wrestlers who aren't necessarily part of the league, but they can come in, have a match, and then that elevates them to get to their next match.
How important was in terms of getting you equipment and obviously some wrestlers to help out here? If you want to give them a shout out too.
I mean, Off the Ropes, we would not have been able to do this without them. Big shout out to Jeff Black. He was our wrestling coordinator on this. Vanessa Douglas, who also helped a lot with coordinating. She is one of our wrestlers in the series themselves. And she allowed us to actually cast her son, Jensen Douglas. So big shout out to Jensen, who's playing Uncle Gigi's son. So the arch nemesis of our story. So they were a massive help in everything. They were a great resource. They not only just trained our people, but again, they came out, they performed stunts themselves. They performed additional scenes that we required. They provided us with a ring, and that was invaluable.
Gotta ask you this. How many people were on this crew, and how did you come about the location for the ropes?
So we had a crew of about 15, but our cast was a total of 34.
Wow.
So on our biggest day, I think, was 37 people altogether on our biggest day. But we had with everybody included within this. I don't think I've ever had a credit list that big. Right now we're preparing for post-production and getting our credits and everything. And I don't think I've ever had a credit list that long. So it has been a labor of love with a lot of people, the community. Forefathers Brewery in Cambridge, thank you so much. One of our sponsors, they provided us with a lot of merchandise for our characters, but also provided us with additional props and stuff that we used around. The location itself came from Proforma Real Estate, another very close friend of mine, and I greatly thank their business as well, Will Johanna and Kitos Tefsamariam. Thank you very much. They're our executive producers, and they are actually the owners of the property that we were using. So they allowed us to come in and use the property so that we can make the show happen.
And the location I thought was perfect. Overall, how was the weather?
Oh, well, it was a little bit of a mixture. Funny enough, we ended up on one of those Facebook groups of like weird things that you see in Waterloo region. And they were saying, oh, there's somebody shooting across the street. Funny enough, they were shooting inside the house on the warm days and they're shooting outside on the cold days, such as life of a film crew. So the weather luckily cooperated with us. We didn't have snow, which is one thing in April living in Canada, we never know. We might get a snowstorm in the middle of the day. We did experience a little bit of rain, which did cause some issues with scheduling, mainly just for safety purposes, because we have to ensure our people's safety. Safety is always number one on any film set. And mainly just the ring, because the ring could be slippery. It could cause injuries. So there was some stuff in there that we did have to kind of pivot. We had a lovely neighbor also who decided to try and ruin our shooting, which is very sad because I'm trying to bring more opportunities to Kitchener-Waterloo for the artist community. I want to bring more filming projects and series, whatever it is that I can bring here to just elevate the artist community is what I would like to do. So it was a little bit sad to just see one kind of nasty neighbor kind of come in and just try to ruin our day. But you know what? We pushed through. We had support from the community as well through bylaw and the city of Waterloo, which I'm very grateful for. They supported us and said, that they're trying to just do this project. They're not disturbing the community. And they helped us get through it.
For those people that are watching this live stream or on audio, Denise, what is it like going? I guess the first thing you do before you start shooting is, I guess, go through all the permits and the process with the city and the town, correct?
I think initially I started with just getting myself out into the city, forming and building those relationships with members of the city. Getting in touch with the people who run the BIA permits, whether at the film commissioner's office. I just wanted to meet them and get involved so that they could see my face and know who I was before I come in and start asking for things. I do really feel that it is important to build that rapport, build the relationship, and see how you can both benefit from it.
What were the hours like shooting for the ropes?
So typically on a film set, you have a 12-hour day. So it's a 12-hour plus one. It can go all the way up into 14, 16-hour days on the big boy movie sets in the union world. I really want to pivot. I would really like to start making changes within the film industry. And there's no reason why we're working 12 to 14 hours a day. This is what's causing a lot of accidents in our industry. This is what's causing a lot of burnout, just a lot of health issues like mental health, physical health. There's a lot of issues within our industry because of scheduling. And I think a lot of studios need to start thinking long term. If you give the studios a little bit more time and a little bit more money, you will actually save money in the long run. I am taking the initiative on my productions that are smaller and I have a little bit more control, where I'm only doing 11 hours plus one, which means they have an 11-hour day to shoot and then 1 hour for lunch. I think a 12-hour day total is more than sufficient, especially on smaller budget stuff. One day when I hope that I have those multi-million-dollar budgets, I hope that I can do 10-hour days for my people. Because I think that that is the shift that we need to make within the film industry is, our health has to come first. And a lot of producers try to cut corners in that way by trying to shove and jam in like a shoot within like 10 to 17 days, which is impossible anymore. Before, when our industry was in its heyday, I would say in the 90s, especially with TV, shows took anywhere between 8 months to a year to make. Now they're taking 4 to 6 months. So people can be on almost 3 to 4 shows in a year. It's not sustainable long-term for our industry. We need to go back to the basics, and I think that we've lost that. So I would like to push that shift to shorter days within the industry.
Denise, ideally, what would you say would be a good 10 hours ideally?
10 hours, I think, is enough. I mean, you have your 9 hours for shooting and you have an hour for lunch. You know, I think 10 hours is more than sufficient. We're losing people. That's the problem within our industry, is we're losing people, whether it's health or whether it's accidents. I mean, back in Toronto in 2019, I believe there was a big accident that happened on Titans. People were only given 3 days to mourn. You know, that's not acceptable for when you've just lost a crew member. People need more support. And why is it? Because people aren't, you know, maybe they're tired, whatever it is. I have personal friends who have gotten into accidents driving home from set because they've been up for 14, 16 hours. I myself travel to Toronto, I commute. So my days minimum are 16 hours and you feel it. So I think the safety and health of your crew and the industry as a whole needs to start shifting in that direction.
How much of an impact does the budget have on these hours, these shifts?
Massive. I mean, we need more support from our government, whether it's through art grants or subsidies through art, more tax incentives, although I know that doesn't help certain municipalities because they do lose money on tax credits, but we need more of a push here within our government. I mean, in Ontario alone, just in Toronto, it's 26 billion GDP that the film industry brings. And we're going to lose that because of, you know, tariffs right now. You know, we're not getting as much of the American money that's coming up here to make the movies. There's a lot of talk of, you know, putting tariffs on foreign films and everything like that. You know, we've all been hearing all of the things that are coming from different places, but I think what the government really needs to start taking an interest in is in the arts. Again, $26 billion that come in GDP just into Toronto. That's just Toronto. That's not including North Bay, which receives a lot of shooting, out east, which gets a lot of shooting, out in British Columbia. I mean, they have The Last of Us. So I think that that's kind of what we need to start shifting into.
I was going to ask you about the tariffs, but you beat me to it. How much of an impact will the tariffs have on the film industry? And do you find that the film industry in Canada has already started to shrink?
I feel like we're in a good spot. The reason that I say that is, and maybe I'm an optimist, and a lot of people within the industry say, you're wrong, Denise, but I think that this is what's going to happen. I personally think indie is going to have a massive resurgence. I think a lot of AI talk, a lot of tariff talk has been happening. Nobody likes AI. Let's be real. Nobody likes AI. It looks fake. People are going to say, well, they're just going to get better with it. But AI, a computer, should not be making art. Art is for us to be making. I don't care if the AI wants to wash my dishes. That's fine. They want to do my laundry. That's great. But for art is for us, for humans. And that is something that I think a lot of people in my industry are afraid of, that AI is going to come in and start taking our jobs. I don't think so. I think indie is going to have a massive resurgence because we are looking for stories. We are looking for connection. We are looking for something that we spend an hour on Netflix looking for. So how many of your friends do you talk to? And they're on Netflix and they're just like, oh, I'm still looking for something. And then they find something and then they watch it and then they don't even really like it. But they're kind of just sucked into there because, well, I have to eat my dinner. It's getting cold. It's getting late, whatever it is. I need to fill that time or that background noise. But what people are looking for is connection and storytelling. And we've lost that because everything's an explosion. Everything is trying to keep people interested or have their focus. But what's going to give your audience a focus other than a connection, a story that maybe they've experienced or a feeling or an emotion that they've experienced? A computer can't do that. With the tariffs, there are going to be less Americans coming up here, again, because the dollar doesn't stretch sufficiently enough anymore. But I don't think it's going to be completely off of like the table. I just think it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get those projects up this way. I really feel we need to start pushing.
Denise, oh, Hey, Denise, I was going to say the reason why I do what I'm doing is because of the storytelling aspect. And just quickly to tell you a little story, Saturday, I took the GO train into Toronto. I don't like to drive into Toronto. It's crazy. And I saw a gentleman wearing an Argos jersey. So me doing some media coverage for the Argos, I approached the guy and he told me his name. And he goes, yeah, I drove all the way from St. Louis, Missouri. And I'm like, immediately, I'm like, there's a story right there. Driving 15, 16 hours halfway across the country to go to an Argos game. So I asked the gentleman if I could do an interview with him on the GO train, and he said yes. And the team loved it, and I have like 3,600 views just simply by approaching somebody. And the story, everybody has a story, no matter what.
We all have a story, and we all need to start telling our stories and connecting with people who want to hear our stories. And that's why I'm a filmmaker. That's why I'm a storyteller. I grew up in a family of writers. My aunt and my mom and my grandma are all writers. My aunt published 4 of her own books with her own money. And a lot of those stories I grew up reading as a child, and my mom would read them to me going to sleep. And a lot of those stories are what resonate with me now. And it's why I'm so passionate about storytelling, and it's why I'm so passionate about connection and about that human emotion and that rawness that that we're missing in society as a whole. We're missing connection in society, in our art, in a lot of different areas. And I think that we really need to start coming back to that humanism.
How much of an impact has live streaming and the internet had on the film industry, even in the last 5 years or so?
Huge, massive, huge. I mean, that's why movie theaters are kind of going out of business right now. People aren't going to the movies anymore, right? Because it comes out, I think it takes almost like maybe like a month, 2 months now, and then it's on a streaming service. You might as well just wait. Pretty soon, it's just going to be obsolete to have movie theaters because they're just going to go right onto the streaming platform, and you're going to be able to rent it or buy a ticket or something like that. But I don't know, call me crazy. I love going to the movie theater still. I love buying a VIP ticket and just making a whole entire night of it. Buying some dinner, popcorn, all the stuff, and just laying there and just escaping for a little bit. And I think, again, people are losing that connection. That's connection. Going into a room with a bunch of strangers and just watching this movie and just sitting there in the dark and just feeling everything. At least one of those people might be feeling what you're feeling in that moment with the scene that you're watching. So again, that's connection. Why are we losing that?
And I'll be honest, I haven't been to a movie theater in 3 years. And I think my next movie I'm going to go see, Denise, and I'm going to let everyone know right now, is going to be on July 11th when the new Superman movie comes out.
Oh, great. Wonderful. I'm a Batman girl, so.
How did you become a Batman girl? Tell us the story.
I grew up watching Batman, like the 1992 animated series on like Fox. And like, that is like, I am a Batman girl. Michael Keaton is my Batman for life. Like
not Adam West.
No, Michael Keaton all the way. Batman and Batman Returns. Yes. I mean, I'm a true 90s kid, right? I grew up in the 90s. So I definitely took in all of those classic 90s movies, the wrestling, all of the stuff, right? I've seen the technology evolution happen. So it's been really cool and really crazy all at the same time.
I was born in the 70s, so I kind of grew up with the 60s Batman with Burt Ward and Adam West. And my favorite Joker to this day, as much as I liked Heath Ledger in the Dark Knight movie, I thought he did a great job as the Joker. Cesar Romero will still always be the #1 Joker to me.
I mean, it's like Eartha Kitt with Catwoman, right? She is the Catwoman.
Denise, since I have you on here and you do executive producing and filmmaking, I got to get your perspective on this too. What makes a good actor nowadays?
Well, I think the best advice I was given in my industry is the producer doesn't talk to actors. The producer is somebody who mainly looks for writers and directors. That is the producer's job because they're looking for that next project, that next big thing that's like, waiting to be discovered. What I do think that makes a good actor, in my opinion, is somebody who's just passionate, somebody who's experienced different aspects of life, Not saying that every single actor has to go through the ringer to be a good actor, but I think when you have a little bit of that experience under your belt and you've been through things in life and life hasn't just been kind of coasting or very easy, I think that that gives you a little bit more of a better perspective on character development and building.
Denise, how important is it for actor and actresses staying in character and then knowing when to get out of character?
It's extremely important. I know a lot of actors like to method act. I think Jared Leto is famously known for being in a wheelchair and being wheeled around and like very much getting into that. Heath Ledger, I mean, we all know he kind of lost his mind a little bit during the Joker. So I think it's a very important balance for the actor that they just need to know when you're coming to set, even if like that morning you need to kind of just start getting yourself into the groove and into like that mindset, that's fine. But I think Daniel Day-Lewis is famous also for doing this. Daniel Day-Lewis's wife kicked him out of the bedroom when he was playing Bill the Butcher because she was like, I have had enough. She's like, I can't deal with it. So I think it's like balancing between your professional and your personal. So ensuring that the people in your life don't feel like you're just trying to be this character or just constantly kind of thinking of acting. There has to be a healthy balance. And that goes in any position within the film industry. You don't neglect your personal life. The film industry has like a 70% divorce rate. And I think that, again, it comes down to time, burnout, all those things that we were talking about earlier. So don't neglect your personal life. And as an actor, I think that that's very important as well, because that's going to continue to allow you to develop that craft. It's going to continue to allow you to have experiences that might develop into a character later on.
In your time, Denise, doing what you're doing as a producer and a filmmaker, how much burnout have you seen so far in your career?
I mean, I recently just went through burnout myself. The last 2 years have been rough for the film industry. I mean, we went through the 2023 strike, the writer's strike, which was heavily impacted here in Canada. A lot of us did not work for months at a time. And it was tough. It was really hard. And just the hustle, just trying to constantly look for work and everything, that can even just burn you out because it is a very competitive industry. You are a freelance worker. There's no contract that you're signing. You still have to look for that gig, even in the union world. And I think a lot of people get that confused because, oh, well, you're in the union, like you should just be getting work. You still have to actively look within the union world. You still have to build those relationships with people and coordinators and different production managers to get those opportunities. So I've seen it quite a bit. I've seen it a bit. I try to really take care of myself. I think I am a very different breed of the film industry. I came in a little bit later in life, if you will, but I don't really consider it later. I think it's the perfect time. I went back to school at 25, got into the film industry at 30, and I kind of just went gung ho. I just went full force in. So, but I'd seen it around me. You can tell, like, just looking at people who've been doing this for maybe 25, 30 years, they're run down. They probably have never had a proper sleeping schedule. We rely on craft catering as well, and sometimes that's not always the healthiest, especially when you don't know what oils are being put in. So again, it's a combination of all those factors that creates the burnout as well.
How important is it to have a strong support system with family and friends in this industry?
Very important. You have to have, again, that balance between your personal life and business life. A lot of my friends that I work with in the industry, they're my friends in personal life as well. So it is nice that I can lean on those people and say, I'm really going through it with this project. It's really taking a lot out of me. And maybe they might have a solution that I might not have thought of, or they have somebody that they can connect me with that might be able to help me. So it's really important to have those support systems. But again, it comes down to, and I think I've been saying this word so much throughout, it's just connection, building that community, right? I've built a community here within Kitchener-Waterloo, friends of mine who have local businesses, whether it's food, pawn shops, like, whatever it is that they do, and I can help and I can support, and also just going into my community and building new relationships. So again, it is very important to have that. That can save you a lot in the future. And again, you don't want to exhaust yourself. You don't want to work too hard. So your community is very important.
Denise, when you're looking for actors and actresses, obviously you're looking for people that are talented, but what other qualities do you look for in casting in a film or a TV series?
I think it really comes down to, are you hungry? How hungry are you for it? I mean, we had a lot of people audition for the ropes that said, I really want to be in this show. I really want to be part of it. We ended up casting somebody for a role, and that person we were very excited about to bring them on. This was their first kind of really big series that they were doing. And then unfortunately, last minute, they kind of just dropped out. And that's where you get disappointed. That's where you kind of lose hope a little bit. So I think somebody who's very eager, somebody who's, for example, when we did recast for that role, the young lady that was possibly going to be in that role was calling us. And she was like, hey, just wanted an update to know if you guys have casted for this position yet. If you have, like, congratulations, all the best of luck. Keep me in mind for something in the future. So I think that was really what set her apart from everybody else, is she was asking. And she was willing to be molded into the character that we required. And that's the main thing as an actor, is you have to be hungry, you have to want it, and you have to be moldable for the director. But also, I think to be a good actor, you also have to have your own voice. So it's not just the director bringing this to life, right? It's also the actor. The actor has their own opinions about the character and what they're reading off of the page, what they're developing themselves. So also, to be a good actor is also to know when to push back on your director and say, well, I don't really think that my character would react like that or act this way. I actually feel like they would be more like this, and having that open communication.
How important is it to have communication skills, listening skills, and also keep an open mind with your actors and actresses and your crew?
I'm a very understanding producer, but I'm also a very hands-on producer. So if something needs to move and something needs to happen, I'm in there with them. And I think that sets me apart from a lot of different producers, because a lot of producers are kind of like, I have assistants. I'm very hands-off. I'm not going to do anything. If a box needs to move, I'm not moving it. I'm going to call this guy over here to move it. I'm very hands-on with everybody. So I'm in there supporting, I'm in there talking to my actors, I'm in there talking to my crew. I'm in there in every capacity that I can be to make sure that I know what's going on. Because it's very important for a producer to be able to manage and to take care of everything and to ensure that everything is being streamlined the way that it needs to. You need to be involved with everybody and everything.
For those people that are watching this show live stream or on audio, and they're interested in getting into the entertainment industry as an actor, actress, producer, director, cameraman, audio, there's so many positions behind a set that people don't know. What advice would you give to those people?
Get out there. Just get out onto a film set. If I knew then what I knew now, I probably wouldn't have gone to school. And I know a lot of people say, well, don't poo-poo school. And it's like, I'm not. It's very valuable for theory. And I learned a lot in that aspect. And I had some good professors that taught me certain things. But a lot of what I've learned and honed in on my skills of being a producer is getting out. Just getting out onto a film set and learning directly from the people that are doing it already. Find somebody that's doing what you want to do and who's doing it the best, and learn from that person. I think one of the best stories that I heard when I first started getting into the industry was back in the day, because to be a production assistant, like, it was very difficult to get in. So people would go and hang out around the studios, and they would just hang around the studios and be like, can I help with that? Can I help with this? And then that's how people actually would be brought in. Just by hanging around and standing there and just asking constantly.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, Denise. How much would you say you've improved as a executive producer and director, even in the last couple of years?
It has been a journey. I was actually just reminiscing today. Actually, today marks 7 years since my first short film.
Congrats.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
So 7 years ago, I was outside in the summer heat with 6 other people shooting my first short film. I broke a rim on my car. I almost got arrested because we were trespassing. A raccoon looked into my soul. And it's just so full circle right now to be sitting here with yourself and talking about my first series that I've just produced. The amount of growth that I've had, even in the last 6 months, is just incredible. I feel so much more confident in myself and in my ability to deliver something. I feel when we're kind of in that preparatory stage, you're doubting if things are even going to get to the finish line, or at least if you're going to get it there at least. And the fact that right now our show is in post-production, we currently have a trailer and a teaser, and everybody's just gravitating towards it and really excited to see the finished project. I've done my job and I feel very rewarded. I've really grown as a leader to know when to make proper decisions for the crew as a whole, for the show as a whole, to ensure that we're going to be able to make it. So I think this was probably the most challenging show that I've worked on to date. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. It was literally the little show that should not have happened, should not exist right now, and it's happening and it's making it. And so that is probably like the most rewarding thing. And I'm grateful to my cast and my crew. Without them, I would not have been able to do this. So shout out to my entire cast and crew. You guys are the GOATs. Without you guys, we have absolutely nothing. But secondly, it's going to really come down to the audience to really give us what we need, which is viewership and people just talking about this and making it a success. And that is going to push the Canadian content. So I've grown so much in this experience. I'm very grateful for it. And I know that the next projects that I do are just going to be that much better.
I've discovered this too in the media radio industry. Whatever career you're in, Denise, at some point in your career, you're going to be facing adversity. You learn more about yourself from adversity than you do from your successes. And even pro athletes tell me that too. They learn more from losses and setbacks than they do from winning and being successful all the time.
Absolutely. I didn't think we were going to get this done. To be very honest, we didn't think we were going to get it done. We had a lot of things, like a lot of issues just thrown into our plan, and, you know, things that we weren't expecting went wrong. And we were like, is this going to even get done? And it's just pulling up your bootstraps and, you know, going out there as a leader and showing your team as well that, listen, I know we're in a tough spot right now, but if we all get together, come together as a group and as a community and as a family, we can make this happen. So again, if it wouldn't have been for my crew, I would not have been able to make this happen. But again, it starts from the top. If you have a good leader, if you have somebody who's humble, somebody who's willing to do the work as well with the crew and the cast, you're good. Like, you're fine. I think being a good leader is the main thing in any project, is just ensuring that your people are looked after.
It's sort of like being a quarterback in football. Sometimes a quarterback has to call an audible, which means they're changing the play up at the last second. And I'm sure that's what happens with filmmaking as well. And one thing I would ask you about too, I guess it's sort of like ad-libbing is like for an actor as well, thinking on your feet all the time.
Oh yeah, definitely. You gotta be quick. I mean, I think I had a production coordinator tell me once, I'm looking for somebody who's proactive, not reactive. So I very much have just rode that throughout my career since that production. She was like a 23-year veteran of the industry, worked with Guillermo del Toro, very, very, very well and very knowledgeable woman. And that was one of the things that she said to me, and I never forgot it.
How important is listening skills as well, not just as an actor and actress, but as a producer and director as well?
For the director to listen is very important, because you're being asked questions from all different places. You need to have answers for people, so you need to be very actively listening to what they're asking you. Do you want this specific shirt, or do you want a different type of shirt? Like, how do you like this blocking? Would you prefer this blocking? So you have to listen, but also still being in collaboration with those people. As a producer, you have to read between the lines. Like, you're listening for the things that they didn't even say. You're listening for things that they didn't even ask you. You're trying to already say 10 steps ahead. I had a production manager when I first started within the industry who told me, Denise, you're always 10 steps ahead. And again, those are all the lessons from me just being in the union world and sitting as a production assistant and just listening. just listening to what everybody's talking about. I had another production coordinator tell me, eavesdrop on everything. And I know it sounds rude, but like within the industry, it's like not really frowned upon. But he told me, he's like, eavesdrop. He's like, listen to everything. He's like, because that's what's going to keep you 10 steps ahead. And it always did, because I would be listening over here and somebody's talking about something that they need and I'm already running out to go get it. So my listening skills come from being a production assistant, and it starts from being a production assistant and at that level, paying attention and learning from all of these different people who are in positions that you want to be in, taking what you want from them, like the good things, the good qualities. Because of course, I'm not saying that every single production coordinator that I've had has been amazing and has treated me great. I've had some amazing coordinators and I've had some nightmare coordinators, but I've learned from both of them. I've learned I don't want to be that type of a coordinator. I want to be a coordinator more like this person, but I really do like how she manages and handles this. And I like how he does this. So paying attention, listening, being hungry. How bad do you want it? That's been a motto of mine since I first started in this business. And a director of photography that I worked with on a show, I was just chatting with him. And one day I just said, it's all about how bad you want it. And he stood there and just stared at me and he said, I like that. I'm going to take that. And he wrote it on his whiteboard. Because it comes down to, in anything in life, how bad do you want it? But especially in the film industry, you have to be hungry, because there's somebody who has less talent than you, who's less passionate than you, and they're where you want to be just because you're doubting yourself. So it's mindset. And again, it's all about how hungry are you? How bad do you want it?
And one thing too, being in the media radio industry, it's important to wear many hats, not just what I'm wearing on my head, but being versatile. It doesn't mean you're going to be the best at everything, but with me, I'm the host, the producer, the content creator. I edit video, I promote my show, I do digital writing. How important is it to be versatile in the entertainment industry? And it can actually increase your odds, because if you can do many varied jobs, you can be more valuable to that producer and director in the end.
Well, you nailed it right there, right? Having multiple skills gets you further in this business. It gets you also working constantly, because if you can do different things and you have different skills, you don't just rely on, okay, well, I'm just PAing, so this is the only skill that I know, or I only gaff, so this is the only skill that I know. I do definitely put myself more on the production side. So I definitely do more of the line producing, the production managing. I've production assistant, but I've also locations, I've RPA'd, I've done it all. But being versatile is a big, big thing. So recently I was production coordinating and second assistant directing on a series that I was involved with. So again, because I had that production managing experience already, I was able to hone in on that skill and like utilize that. But second ADing was kind of a new world for me. So I had to kind of learn that. But I picked it up quick because it really correlated with production. So both of those positions kind of correlate with one another. So I didn't really feel like it was too difficult for me to do. But again, whatever needs to get done, even on the ropes, we needed an extra background actor, and I got into costume, and I'm out there in the backyard with everybody else. So being versatile, constantly educating yourself, making sure that you're on top of your education, new trends that are happening within the industry, and just read, creative reading, whatever it is that you enjoy. I would say read a lot. I think reading is a lost art that we're losing as well.
To be honest, that was the first time I was ever behind a set of a film being made, and I learned a lot. And people don't realize how much work is behind the scene of a TV show, a movie, even a short film. And you need everybody to come together to work as a team. Everyone's got to do their job to be successful. And I'm going to put you on the spot here, Denise. What are 3 words to describe yourself?
3 words to describe myself. I'm sure a few people have different choice words for me, but a leader, a producer, and oh my goodness, I've never been asked this question. definitely a leader, a producer, and just an overall like helpful person. I would say would best describe me.
And one thing about myself too, when I first started doing this show 5 years ago, I had everything scripted and everything. And one of my guests basically gave me some advice. It's okay to write points and notes down, but make sure when you talk to your guest or guests to have a natural conversation. So I've learned from that advice. From Eric Smith from the Toronto Raptors, and I've applied it to my show. So the way I'm talking to you now is the way I would talk to you if we were on set again. And listening is huge because sometimes you can have questions prepared, but I guess can give you an answer to 5, 10 different questions. So for me, listening skills are probably even more important than the talking skills.
Well, as a producer, you have to learn. You have to know how to talk. You have to know how to negotiate. You have to know how to get what you need. I think it helps that I do come from a corporate background. So I was in corporate for 13 years beforehand. So I dealt with a lot of different executives and corporate type of environments.
Same here. Same here.
So moving into film was like a very big shift for me. And not only was it a big shift, but one of my coordinators on one of my first shows said, you need to like tone it down a bit. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, you're too corporate, like you're too formal. And I was like, oh, okay. So it goes based on where you are too, right? So going from that corporate world where it has to be very stuffy, very, very professional and polished and everything, to going into the film industry where it can be a little bit more lax, where yes, things need to move, things need to get done. And like, we're still doing a job, but we get to do the funnest job in the entire world. Come on. So, yeah, like it's an exciting and very different environment compared. So when like I have people who I work the real world, right? I call it the real world because the film industry and the way that the like work ethic works in our business is very different. There's some amazingly talented people who are such hard workers and like, they have great work ethic. And then you have like the other side of the coin. And again, that's everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. So again, I just love this business because it changes every day, right? Like every single day is different. No day is the same. The logistics of everything, how a movie happens, how you plan it, like the steps and everything, those are the same. But when you go into a set, everything is different because you don't know what's going to happen that day. Even on my sets, there was days we would come in and we're like, what is going to happen today? So it's an exciting industry.
Who are some of your favorite producers and directors out there? And do you find a lot of the producers and directors originally started as an actor in the beginning?
I think a lot of actors move into other roles when they don't become actors. Trying to think. I mean, I love a lot of different types of directors and producers. I can't even really name one just because I like so many genres of different movies. Like, I can't answer that one. I can't answer who's my favorite because I admire so many different people for so many different things. Yeah, I can't answer that one. That one's hard. That's a hard question, Chris.
Mine would be Ron Howard, who originally was on TV shows, The Andy Griffin Show, Happy Days, and he reinvented himself from an actor into one of the best in the industry. And got to ask you this too. How many actors and actresses do you see that come up to you and say, I don't want to be stereotyped in a role?
Again, because I'm the producer, I don't deal with actors that often.
Okay.
So that's not really a question I would get.
I should get one of your actors and actresses come on.
Yes, you should, of course. I bet that they would love to come on and have a chat with you.
Denise, do you still have a little more time? Because I wanted to ask you a few more questions, but I also wanted to play the trailer from Off the Ropes, which was filmed in Waterloo. Just let me know if you can hear the audio. I'm the audio person on the show as well. Just give me 1 second, And this is courtesy of what? Dead March. I
So
can't.
this is our campaign video for Indiegogo.
Okay.
You can find the link on the campaign video there. And this is to support us in basically pushing the project to the finish line. And we have different perks, as they're called, on there, whether it's like a $15 donation for a shout out or a $55 donation, and you get a ticket to our VIP premiere in Waterloo on the 26th of September. So this is the campaign video that we put together to basically showcase some of the footage, but also showcase our actors and our director, Brian Quintero. The company that is listed there is Dead Mariachi Films, which is also in connection with the project. So they're my my like it's like another company that I am in association with.
Okay, just 1 second, and we're gonna play this video clip right now.
Let's go! They're a perfect family, and I think that, you know, we're all doing the best we can, and this is a family that finds their passion and what brings them together and what works.
The show is about a family who absolutely loves their hobby, which is backyard wrestling.
I think there's parts of this show that people will really relate to.
There is a lot of family values, love, hearts.
And struggling backyard wrestling is giving them joy. And
like to see how they take wrestling not seriously, but even more, you know, having their own league.
And the storyline is really, really funny.
There's definitely something here for the wrestling community.
I think they'd like all the humor and the wrestling.
I feel like I am a new fan of wrestling because of this whole thing. I have a whole new respect for wrestlers, performers, the sports, the acting, the storylines. I think it's the coolest thing.
This is purely Canadian. If you are somebody who just wants to support Canadian content, if you like shows that are funny, this show has everything. And it's about family. It's about fighting for what you believe in, fighting for your family, fighting for your home.
We believe we have an amazing show to offer. We are near the finish line. Right now, we're looking for donations to complete the project.
Please visit our crowdfund campaign, consider donating.
And most importantly, you could get involved and really just promote and showcase the show with us.
wrestling fans and wrestlers themselves are really going to appreciate all the effort that it went into putting on a show so unique like this as The Ropes.
I hope you love our show. Bye.
Thoughts on that campaign video?
Well, again, the campaign video was very quickly put together by our lovely team. So we brought on 2 additional producers for this project. So Sean Maris and Marcella Young, who are also our cast. So they're playing Bevan and Marina, and we were able to get another wrestling studio in Toronto. So shout out to Super Kicked for allowing us to use their space. And we were able to get some friends to come in and help us perform to put together the EPK, or the electronic press kit that you see there. So it's pretty much just to promote the Indiegogo, promote the show, get people involved if they want to, and just help us get us to the finish line.
Thoughts on producer Brian Quintero as well, who I met and interviewed you guys with in a ring.
Brian and I have known each other since 2021. We've been working together since approximately 2022, like about mid 2022. This is our 5th project together, and it is our first series. We're both.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What's his biggest strength?
Brian is a creative. He is very much, he has a creative brain. Brian's an actor by trade. He's been acting since he was about 12 years old. And he's moving into directing now, into the directing sphere. And he just continues to grow as a director. Watching him direct his first short about 2 years ago, now comparing to what I've seen on this series, his growth has just been immense. When he's working, especially with such a talented director of photography like Christopher Yap. Also, I mean, I knew it was just going to be a team that was going to blow it out of the water completely. So Brian is very much a creative, and that is his strong suit. And I think a lot of people have always said, like, Brian is the creative, but Denise is the business. So we complement each other in that way.
How can people help support your work and all that? Is there a website?
Yep. So if you actually go onto our Instagram account at The Rope Series Official, there is a link to our Indiegogo there, and everybody can just click it and check out all of the stuff we have on there and place a donation if you'd like. There is also like contributions at your discretion. So if you don't see any of the perks there that you like or that you would like to actually purchase, you can also just contribute yourself with no perk necessary.
Any plans for, I guess you have a website as well you can promote?
We are building our website. Fuego Pictures was actually just created last year. So we're actually just coming up on our 1 year anniversary come July.
Congrats.
Thank you very much. So we are still working on getting our website up and running, and we're working on our new demo reel, which I'm hoping that will be out probably early next year in 2026. We have a massive slate that's coming out for next year as well. So this is not the last that you've heard of Fuego Pictures. We're going to be headed up to Sault Ste. Marie actually next month to start having conversations about possibly doing a season 2 up there.
And that's where I was born, in Sault Ste. Marie.
Okay, all right.
Back in 1972, before they had hydro and power. Denise, I got to ask you this too. It applies to media radio as well. How important is it to have good, strong demo reels of your work?
It's extremely important. I mean, that is your calling card. That's what's going to get you your next job. But also another big important piece of advice that I give to any young filmmaker out there is be helpful, ask questions, just be as hands-on as you possibly can, because your last job is your next job. So that person might bring you on to their next project because they just enjoyed working with you so much. Just try to be a joy, try to be somebody that's a pleasure to be around. But it's extremely important. That is what shows and showcases all of the work that you've done up to date. Right now, we are updating the reel because I have a lot of it is much more short films from my earlier days, and I'd like to start getting more of the newer work that we've been working on, and just show all the growth that I've had in the last few years.
And one thing I wanted to mention too, don't burn bridges in your industry or whatever career you're in.
Yes. I think many people will disagree with me on this. I think in my industry, that's very hammered into us from the minute you come in. Reputation, 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 reputation. And again, like I said, people will disagree with me. I say reputation be damned. At the end of the day, your work is going to speak for itself. And if you're somebody who's actually a pleasure to be around, like you're not an asshole, for lack of better wording. My dad says there's always one everywhere, but for lack of better wording, as long as you're not that, I really don't think that there's anything wrong with standing up for yourself. And I think within the industry, because they fear-mongered everybody throughout their careers, and especially new production assistants coming into the industry, they're so fear-mongered with, oh, if you screw this up, that's it. That's the end of your career. Your reputation be damned. Your work is going to speak for itself. And if you are a good person and you're somebody who is a joy to be around, like I mentioned, people are going to hire you. I've myself have had instances where I've made mistakes in this industry coming up, like all of us do. Mistakes do not define us. Mistakes are what help us grow and become the people that we're meant to be. So don't live in that mistake, because at the end of the day, we are going to make a bigger one next time. And the philosophy that I take with me now is it going to matter in 5 years? If it doesn't matter in 5 years, don't even spend 5 minutes on it. So as much as, yes, be a good human, like reputation is a good thing to have within the industry, I think we need to start kind of burning that, because it has created an environment of fear mongering where people do not feel safe to come and say if there is something happening. And I've experienced that myself.
How did you come about starting up your own business? And just tell us about how you came up with the name. I believe Fuego in Spanish means fire. Am I correct on that?
That is very correct. Well, I'm first generation Canadian. My family immigrated here from Nicaragua in the 80s during the Iran-Contra conflict, and I was one of the first born here. And so being Canadian is very important to me because this is my home. It's where a lot of my identity has come from. I've been raised here my entire life, so I really don't know anything different, but I do still hold my Latin background and my Latin values that I've been raised with. So I'm very fortunate to grow up in a place like Canada that allows me to still immerse myself in the Canadian culture and be Canadian, but also still learn and experience my culture that I come from. So very, very fortunate in that sense. I always knew I wanted to be a filmmaker since I was very little. I think by the age of 3 or 4, I had well over 20 movies like memorized, going from all the way from like Little Mermaid to like Titanic. You know, I just loved movies and I could sit in front of the TV for hours. I didn't realize it in those days, but when I would play Barbies, I would take a whole day to set everything up. And when I mean to set everything up, I mean like where they would live, like their houses and everything. But then I would set up the storyline. And I didn't realize in that time that I was actually in prep. And I was basically doing what a director would be doing, which is preparing like the scenes and how they're going to play. And I wouldn't play until the next day. So I think it's always innately been in me that I've wanted to do this since I was very, very little. I come from a line of writers, like I mentioned earlier. My father also, his side of the family has a lot of musicians and artists. So I think it's just innately within me to just be this and like do this job that I'm very blessed to be able to do. Fuego came about because, again, I wanted something that represented my Latin culture, but also still was something that people could still say. So, and I also wanted to have it like, you know, be something that had a little bit of meaning, maybe a little bit of spice to kind of represent the Latin. So Brian and I kind of were brainstorming of names, and Fuego came about, and he said, well, you're fiery. And so I said, well, you're not wrong. And I'm like, and Latinos are fiery. So yeah, I guess it works. And we're spicy. So that's how Fuego came about. And then pictures, of course, because we want to focus more on content and like filmmaking and series and stuff like that.
How important is branding and marketing as well?
Branding and marketing is very important. I actually was recently speaking with somebody who I'm going to be collaborating with. And they said, I think you're onto something with the ropes. And I said, well, what do you mean? And they said, well, you're going to wrestling events. Like you're actually going to the demographic that you're trying to get to watch this show, and you're showing them what you've done. And they're like, and that's such a different way of promoting film and television because most people don't do it that way. Most people will buy ad space, or they'll just promote it on social media, or they'll get a commercial or whatever it is that they're doing to promote. And we're very much moving in a different direction where we're kind of branding the show already. Like we're creating a brand in and of itself of the show. So merchandise, getting out into the community events of wrestling, and really just promoting it to the people that we want to be watching this. And we want people to be like excited about another season so we can get season 2.
Have you thought about starting up your own podcast show as well?
I have thought about that for years and years and years and years. I actually originally was being scouted by the television broadcast program professor, and I was actually also being sought after by the radio broadcast professor. He really wanted me to go into radio. And I decided I wanted to go into TV. I think TV just, we get a little scared with radio, right? Because radio was kind of going, you know,
it's shrinking. It's
shrinking, right? So, but I think podcast opens up such another avenue and such another world. And I think that's something that I'm very interested in doing eventually one day. I think I have to find and figure out what I want to say and what I would like to talk about, but I don't think that that's off the table for me at all.
I have 2 other shows. I do a football show, and I do a monthly entertainment show with my co-host Marlene Sharp. She used to be a stand-up comedian. Now she's in the cartoon animation industry in Los Angeles. And I think you would make a great guest for our Small Talk podcast because Marlene, I think, would have a lot to talk to you about. She's a wonderful co-host.
Wonderful. Yes. No, I'd love to connect and Yeah, anything that gets me out here talking about the show, talking about the changes that I want to see in the film industry happen, and just talking about more Canadian content and art. I would love the opportunity, because we really do need to start supporting more creative art, Canadian artists. We don't support enough Canadian content and artists here within Canada, and with, you know, everybody being very much Canada first. Well, that also includes our arts. So we need to stop exporting so much from different countries and from the United States, and we need to start putting it here at home.
More Canadian made stuff.
More
Yes.
Canadian made, bred, written, and acted by all Canadian people. And remember, I mean, we actually used to export great Canadian content down into the US. Degrassi was a massive, huge hit in the US, right? I think Trailer Park Boys right now is having a massive resurgence in the US. Letterkenny, like, we export so much great comedy, but we need to also start keeping it here at home.
I have a quick Degrassi story for you. I grew up in the late 70s and early 80s, so I was a fan of Degrassi Junior High. Back then it wasn't popular, but about a year and a half ago, Pat Minestrone and Stacey Musician were in London, and I finally got to meet them, and I said, guys, this is the first time I've ever met you, but I grew up watching you guys, so you guys kind of were like my friends back in the 70s and 80s, and how much of an impact you had on a lot of teenage kids back in Ontario in the 70s and 80s, and even in the States, that show has an impact.
Yeah, massive impact. What's another export of ours that had a huge impact? And that's another thing. We're losing, teenagers don't have shows anymore, right? Like, I remember growing up as a millennial and in the 90s, and I mean, like, shows were really geared towards us.
901, 90210.
90210, Dawson's Creek,
Yep.
like Party of Five, like there's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I was a big Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan. So, I mean, there was so many shows for tweens, teens kind of growing up. And I think that we don't have that for kids nowadays. And I think we really need to kind of start bringing that back. But Ready or Not was a massive export from Canada that went down to the US and helped a lot of young women, right? Because it was about two Canadian girls just growing up in Canada, being teenagers. And we're missing those stories. And those are the stories that I would like to see come back. Growing up in the 90s, some of the biggest movies that for me created a massive impact were Stand By Me, Now or Never, right? Sorry, Now and Then, not Now or Never, but Now and Then. All those movies were like coming of age stories. And I would really love for Canada to really start getting back into that genre. I mean, we made such a massive impact in the 80s and the 90s with those shows, and we should still continue to do that.
How do we get the creativity back in TV and movies? Because it seems like there's so many reboots and remakes, and it's like, how can we go back? Yeah, it's hard to recreate something that was a classic back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
It is. We're not going to recreate it. We can't. The time and like the energy of that time, everything is so different now that you can't recreate that. You have to come up with something else. Right now, what I've actually started kind of digging into is reading old books. I saw a quote recently that said, if you want a new idea, read an old book. And I kind of thought about it for a minute, because what did I start doing when I was kind of starting to get back into, like, I want to be a director and I kind of want to start doing this? I started watching old black and white movies from like the 50s and the 60s, because that's where you learn. That's where the inception of like filmmaking started and happened. So that's where you're going to learn the most from. So that's why it's like, and they're slow burns. They're slow burns, and like people don't really like slow burns anymore, because we need the explosions. We need all of that. And go back to the basics. We need to go back to the things that inspired us originally and created these, the ability for us to have what we have now. But we need to go back. Get back into those old, old movies, old books. That's
imagination.
Just in short. Write what you know. You know how we were talking about everybody has a story. Yeah, everybody has a story. And sometimes I'm telling my story, and I don't think it's that unique or that inspiring or that crazy. And I'm telling somebody and they're like, that's wild. That's crazy. That happened to you? And I was like, And then you realize you're like, oh, I guess that is kind of a crazy story when you really think about it, right? So that's what we're missing. We're just, everybody's trying to copy something that's been done, or trying to kind of like, a big thing with the kids nowadays with Gen Alpha is trends, like, oh, this is trending on TikTok. Now I have to go and make a video to make it better than that. And I got to updo this person and I got to outdo that person. And where's your originality? Like, where is like your voice? Where are you in all of that?
Denise, the older I get, and I'm sure, I know you're very young compared to me, but I find retro comes back. Do you ever see a day where somebody might start the trend of making a black and white movie again?
I think that that's going to happen. It's already been happening. Yeah, I can't think of the movie off the top of my head right now, but we're seeing it happen. Things are coming back. Right? From fashion to even so much as, and not to get super into like, politics or religion or anything, but Gen Z and Gen Alpha are actually moving towards being more conservative and kind of going back to those religious values and going to church and all of those things. So I think that, we just need to bring back those values also.
Before I wrap this up, Denise, can you just tell us quickly about some of your current projects and Creepy Bits, I guess, which premiered on Amazon Prime's Hollywood Suites? Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So I actually was the production manager on Creepy Bits. It is on the sub-channel Hollywood Suites on Amazon Prime. You can watch season 1 and season 2 available on there. And we filmed that actually last year. So it's just a little over a year that we completed that. And that was shot actually in Kawartha Lakes.
What was that like?
That was an interesting experience. We ended up staying on houseboats. So it was like a floating hotel basically. And getting everybody up there from Toronto, which is like a 3-hour drive, was probably one of the most interesting things that I will ever experience. Just the logistics of it all. Because we're not on the boat shooting, like we're going to different islands. Like we were at Buckhorn, we were at Curve Lake, and we worked with the Curve Lake First Nations, which was amazing. Just to be able to experience the First Nations as well. They have such a lovely community there. We ended up taking on one of their youth as our production assistant. So she was able to learn a lot as well. So we tried to give back to them as much as they gave to us, allowing us to just come onto their reserve and just utilize the beautiful space there. Really just trying to honor their ancestors as well, because that was very important. So it was a great, beautiful experience. And that was actually my first time fully production managing a web series. So it prepared me for the ropes.
Any chance of a future book about your career? And are you interested in getting into the coaching and teaching aspect of this industry?
I think for coaching, I would definitely be great. Teaching, I think for teaching, you can't learn this. You either have it or you don't. Either you have what it takes to be in this business, and it is a cutthroat industry, or you don't. And it's very easy for me to pick up on that right away. Usually when I'm hiring production assistants, I can tell if they're going to make it far in this industry or not. Just based on their personality, based on their initiative, based on a lot of like the things that they do and how they perform in the basics of production assisting, I can tell where they're going to go. I very early on in my career started hearing from many people when I was just production assisting, you're going to be my boss one day. And I didn't really understand it in those days. Now that I'm like where I am now, I'm like, I see what they meant. And it's because now looking and hiring production assistants and looking at them, I'm like, you have what it takes. You don't have what it takes. And you pick up on it. You either have it or you don't. But I can definitely see myself possibly mentoring. I can see myself definitely doing like motivational speaking one day. And for the book question, definitely, I would love to write a book one day about my life. I think my life's been a little bit crazy. I already have the title for it. So
can you tell us?
No? I can. I mean, it's a little bit crazy. It's gonna leave people wondering, but I always said, I'm like, I think I'm gonna name the autobiography is how I became a drug trafficker at 29.
That'll get attention. That definitely get attention.
I was like, that'll get attention, right? So
as we wrap up this show, what are some fun facts about yourself and your series of ropes that people might not know about?
Well, some fun facts about myself. I am a self-taught baker. So I've been baking myself and teaching myself since I was about 12 years old. And I've taught myself from everything from chocolate chip cookies to bread and cinnamon buns and butter tarts and everything in between. So that is a hidden talent of mine, if you will. I potentially maybe going into some acting later this year. And I would like to direct a short film that I've been working on for the last year or so. I'd like to direct it possibly in the next year if possible with the funding. And for the ropes, the series, I mean, once it's released, I think we can really start getting into all of the nitty-gritty and everything that happened on set. I think a lot of people would be very surprised to hear everything that happened and the fact that this show is even here. It was completely, the little engine that could. This was the little show that could. And I'm so proud of every single person on this. And once we finalize and lock everything, I think we can start sharing those stories a little bit more. But as for right now, you know what? The Ropes, the series, is a series with heart, passion, family, and wrestling. And if you're somebody who wants to watch good Canadian content made right here in Kitchener-Waterloo, please check out our show and consider donating. Consider becoming somebody who can help us out and get us to the finish line.
Before I get to this next question, I got to ask you about your baking. You said chocolate chip cookies and butter tarts. Who has the best butter tarts in Ontario besides yourself?
Oh my goodness. There's a butter tart festival happening in Fergus.
I'm going to it as media.
Are you going? Okay, because I was like, I think I might have to go to that, and then I can answer that question for you.
There's one in Amira too on July 26th, so I'm hoping to be at either both of them or one of them as media and try different butter tarts. Raisins or no raisins?
No raisins, no raisins. Pecan.
That's okay too. I like the raisin though.
I don't mind them. I'll eat them if that's what we have, but I'd prefer no raisins.
I'm gonna have to film that festival too. I think that's great content. And you know what? Even when I'm not technically working, I'm always thinking of content on the fly. I'm sure you do as well.
Listen, I was on something and I wasn't necessarily at the top boss or anything. I was kind of just assisting. And this actor, who's a very well-known actor from Los Angeles, turned around and looked at me and he said, "It must be very difficult for you." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "It must be so hard for you to shut off that producer brain." And I was like, "Thank you for noticing."
Mine's even going. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and it's like, I've got an idea for a guest or a topic.
Yeah.
So, Denise, can you tell us when the Ropes will be released on Bell Fibe TV and how many episodes in total?
So we will be premiering in October on Bell Fibe TV1, and we will have a total of 6 episodes, roughly running between about 12 to 15 minutes each.
What was your most memorable day on set?
My most memorable day on set would probably have to be the day that I got dressed up as the party straggler. Sometimes, like I was mentioning earlier, as producers, we have to do certain things that maybe we don't want to do, but the job has to get done and somebody needs to do it. So, my lovely costume designer, Annalise Luce, amazingly talented woman. We would be nowhere without her. She handled like 34 background actors by herself. She is an angel. She is a gem. Shout out to Annalise Luce. Annalise got a crazy costume ready for me. And then our lovely key makeup artist, Daniela Donner, she got me some crazy party makeup. And, I just had a blast coming out with crazy hair, dressed up like I had just been partying all night with these guys. And, my crew, I think that was really an enjoyable moment for me because my crew gets to see me in a different light and they get to have fun with me where it's not so much business and just strictly like, Denise, I need an answer to this or that or whatever. It's a moment where everybody can just kind of let their hair down a little bit. Producers on set, producers dressed up, you know, and producers just having fun. And I think those are the moments right there that really bring us together and hone us in as a family. But I'm sure that my crew will disagree with me and say that everybody's favorite moment was the day that we all got to go through the house and basically just like tear it apart.
I'm going to reward this. You're having a VIP premiere event in September, I think you mentioned earlier.
Yes, so September 26th, we will be having a screening at the Princess Cinema in Uptown Waterloo. And that is a VIP screening. So it is going to be the first exclusive watch party for The Ropes because we won't be premiering until October on the platform. So we'll be doing an exclusive screening here locally in the city. You can purchase your tickets on the Indiegogo, and that'll come with VIP meet and greet for the cast and the crew, little red carpet walk, and then we have a little after party scheduled for after that.
I would like to attend that on September 26th.
Of course, please.
That would be amazing. And
it's also the first day of Oktoberfest, which I don't know if your viewers know, but Oktoberfest here in Kitchener-Waterloo is the second largest Oktoberfest festival in the entire world.
And one of my favorite movies involved Oktoberfest in Kitchener-Waterloo. Back in 1983, it was called Strange Brew with Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas. The McKenzie brothers.
You know, Rick Moranis is making a comeback, right?
No, I did not know that.
He's making a comeback after, I think, a 30-year hiatus of the film industry. He's making a comeback.
Is it for Spaceballs, the sequel?
It's for Spaceballs, the sequel. He's coming back.
I saw that movie as a 15-year-old kid in 1987. What was your favorite Rick Moranis movie?
Oh, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
What made that so good? What made that so good?
Again, because being a little girl, I'm an only child, right? So I was alone a lot of the time. I could kind of like, I had like my own little entertainment center and everything. And I just loved movies so much because I didn't understand. I was always curious, like, how do they make that happen? Like, how did they make them little? Like, how did they shoot this? How did they get the camera in there? So it was just, it was the big world, like the fantasy around it. I love that. And, you know, I think I went to Disney World and I think my parents took me through the ride that they have there of it, or like the little, like where they have the whole entire set. So I loved it because it was like this big fantasy world of like these kids that get lost in the garden, basically, right?
Do you see a remake of that movie?
I didn't. I refuse to watch remakes a lot of the time because
it's not the same.
It's not the same. You got to stay true to the classic, and maybe call me like, you know, a nostalgic millennial or whatever it is. And we're so attached to our original versions, but they're the originals for a reason. I think like things like, for example, like Dune as a movie, it needed to be remade with the technology that we have now, the effects, and it looks incredible. It looks amazing. You watch the old Dune and you're like, you know, it's a little bit rough, but it didn't hold up to today's market, right? But then you look at movies like Terminator 2, Judgment Day, which is like one of probably like, if not my favorite movie of all time. That movie is held up so amazingly well. If you ever touch Terminator 2, I will personally come and find you.
I wanted to see them make a remake. I'm kidding. No. Just kidding.
No,
just kidding.
You can't touch that. Even just like watching even like the movies that have come out since, right? Like Genesis and all that stuff. Love them. They've taken like a whole other view on the Terminator, like the saga and everything. But I think Terminator 2, hands down, probably like one of the best movies.
Are you a Star Wars fan or not?
I can watch it. I'm more of a Trekkie. Definitely more of a Star Trek girl.
Captain Picard or Captain Janeway or Captain Kirk? Which captain, if you had to pick one captain, which one would you take from Star Trek?
Maybe I'm biased because she's like one of the only female captains we've ever had. But I love Captain Janeway because she is a force. I mean, come on, who gets lost in the Delta Quadrant and makes it all the way back home after at the end? Okay, like let's be real. Only Captain Janeway could do that. Picard could never. But then I have a very, very special place in my heart for Captain Jean-Luc Picard. I watched the Picard as soon as it came out. I cried when Worf and like Geordi and like Deanna and everybody was in the show. I was bawling. I was crying. So I'm definitely a big Trekkie girl. Picard has a special place in my heart because like Captain Picard, come on, like Locutus of Borg.
I'm gonna go with the original Captain Kirk, William Shatner, who's Canadian, and
Yeah.
he's still in his 90s and sharp as a whip.
He is. He looks great for his age. He looks fantastic. I thought that, but well, and if we're talking about, captains, I think Captain Kirk is the most attractive captain out of all of them.
I always find it people either like one or the other. I don't find too many people I like Star Wars and Star Trek. It's either one or the other. It's like with Apple and Samsung. It's either one or the other.
I mean, I think because I just like movies, right? When my dad was really into Star Trek, so I would watch Star Trek with him, but he bought all the Star Wars movies. So I got into Star Wars and I would watch Star Wars, but Star Trek was it just sucked me in more. I just liked it more. I don't know what it was about it.
I as much as I love Star Wars, the original 3 were the best. I know they did I know they did 6 more or whatever, but I just found the original 3 as a kid were the best of the 9 they made.
They were. Opinion. Yeah, I still even to this day I think that they're the best. Sometimes you just shouldn't touch something, in my opinion. Like if it's good, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I understand George Lucas from his perspective. Like, he wanted to like really make it the way he envisioned it, right? Like James Cameron, right, with Avatar, right? That's why it took him so long.
My favorite movie, I'm going to tell you this right now. It involves Harrison Ford, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's Star Wars." 1993, The Fugitive. I really hope they actually remade that from the TV show from the 60s. But you know what? They did such a terrific job with that movie in 1993. That's one movie I hope never gets remade. The Fugitive with Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, because wasn't the original with Clint Eastwood, if I remember correctly?
I don't think it was Clint Eastwood, but it was a TV series in the 60s. And it was a great TV series, but they did such a terrific job putting it into the movie with Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones. And you know what? You can have the best plot in that, but you also need to have a great cast of actors and actresses and producers and directors and behind the scenes people to make something successful.
That's why I've been saying without my cast and my crew, I would have nothing. So the people, like all those names that go up on the screen, as much as we want to say, like the actors are very important, of course. But those are the people who really make the magic happen.
Denise, finally, this is my last segment on the show before we wrap it up. Ask the host CDP a question segment. Do you have a question for me to put me on the hot seat?
Put you in the hot seat. All right. Who is your favorite all-time wrestler?
Favorite all-time wrestler? I don't want to say, I guess I will say it because I don't agree with his political views, but the person that really got me into professional wrestling back in 86 and 87, even though I don't agree with his political views these days, was Hulk Hogan. I never really was into it, but then when WrestleMania 3 came, Hogan, who was unbeatable and a cartoon kind of figure against Andre the Giant. Yeah. I would say Hulk Hogan, but as for Canadian, you got to go with Bret the Hitman Hart. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
Okay. Yes. All right. Love
That's
that.
somebody I want to interview one day is Bret Hart.
You know what? I would love if Bret the Hitman Hart could like just even shout out my show or something like that. It would be amazing. But he was definitely one. But Bret the Hitman Hart was one of my favorite all-time wrestlers. The Undertaker. I loved The Undertaker, and my all-time crush, Shawn Michaels.
not me. I've been replaced by Shawn Michaels. And you know what? He reinvented himself at the end of his career as well, and he really changed his life as well at the end. Because I know he was in some trouble and stuff with substance abuse, and he really religion kind of really helped straighten him up with his wife and his daughter, and now he's a teacher with NXT, and he's doing a great job.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the McMahon documentary and I really, really enjoyed it. Just watching all of them talk about the time, like the heyday of WWE, basically. And yeah, it was really interesting to see them go from like these like big like ooh, flashy like sexy boy, and then to like now they're like these like older men, calm down and everything. And it's as my dad likes to say, like time. I have it in Spanish and for some reason I can't think of it in English, but like like essentially time is of the essence, right? Like time doesn't escape anybody.
Thoughts on John Cena as a heel or a baby face?
I'm not a big fan of John Cena. He's funny. He does good in the comedies. Like I did like him in that one movie with Amy Schumer. He was very funny in that.
Any plans to go to a WrestleMania in the future?
Ooh, you know what? If this goes far enough, I'm hoping that I'm like one of like the main sponsors there or something one day.
And finally, Denise, where can my audience follow you on social media, your website, and your YouTube channel? And what's the best way of somebody contacting you, connecting with you?
Instagram is the best way to get in touch with me, either on my personal account, Denise.Bodán. You can DM me, follow me on there. I'm very responsive. Or you can follow us on the Ropes Official Instagram there. So it is the Ropes Series Official. And we have some great stuff coming up, contests, giveaways, more events that we'll be attending throughout the city, Multicultural Fest, Rib Fest, all of the festivals that we can get into. The Sun Life Buster Festival we'll be attending, and just really promoting the show and pushing forward the arts here in Kitchener-Waterloo.
You mentioned the word ribs. Who has the best ribs in the area?
Ooh. They close now, but there used to be this one place over on Highland Road, and it was called Prime Barbecue. But I think like the best, hands down, the best barbecue in town will probably be the Lancaster Smokehouse, or the Lank, as we like to call it here.
And in Guelph, I would go with Savaki Flame. It's a small Greek restaurant on Dawson Road, and they have the best ribs, I think, the best ribs, I think, in my opinion.
Whew. All right.
So
we got to go to lunch sometime.
Absolutely deal. Hey, Denise, I want to say thank you for giving us over 90 minutes of your time. And just give me a little bit of time this afternoon and I will send you the full video, the audio, and I will edit the video. I know editing video is tedious, but it's a necessary in your career, in your industry, and mine. And I will tag you in on all social media platforms as well. And you have an open invite to come back on my show again in the future, or the Small Talk podcast, because I know my co-host Marlene Sharp would love to talk to you about your career as well.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me today, Chris. I'd be happy to jump on any other time that you'd like me here. And of course, please have that invitation open for her as well. And we hope to see you on the 26th at our premiere.
Absolutely. I'll put it in my calendar. And I have a viewer watching from Buffalo, New York. His name is Robbie Schneider. He has his own podcast show. He just wanted me to say hi to you and thank you for such a great show today.
Thank you, Robbie. And I have family over there in Buffalo. So yay, Buffalo Bills.
I know them well. I do some media coverage or freelance media coverage for the Bisons and the Bandits. And it's a great great sports city, and it almost feels like being in Ontario when you go across the Buffalo.
It really does, yeah. Well,
all right,
Chris.
Denise, thank you so much for coming on here, and continued success. And I would love to have maybe somebody else from the Ropes come on my talk show in the future as well.
And we can definitely get that set up for you.
Okay. Well, you have a great rest of the Monday, and we'll be in touch.
All right. Take care.
You too. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. All right, guys, that concludes season 10, episode 55 of Live with CDP Sports Entertainment Talk Show. Sponsored by Barry Collins Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. And I want to say thank you to our guest today, Denise Bodán, an executive producer and filmmaker with her own company called Fugal Pictures, which is based out of Kitchener-Waterloo, Ontario. And her website and her social media sites are down here on the ticker as well. I do have another comment here from Robbie Schneider. Hi, Chris, my favorite all-time Detroit Tigers player. That's not me. Oh, mine is Lou Whitaker and Alan Trammell. And Robbie Schneider again, go Detroit Tigers. Hello, Denise. And Robbie again, go Bills. I want to say thank you, Robbie, and I want to say thank you to everyone else watching this live stream and on my audio platforms as well. I do have another announcement to make, guys. The next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, sponsored by BarryCollin.com, to be announced on my social media pages. I'm working on more guests and more talk shows coming up soon. But I am, yours truly, CDP, is back on air on Wednesday, June 18th at 7 p.m. for Season 4, Episode 2 of the Argo Bounce podcast show with Nick Small and Chris Palme. Nick and I, we talk about the 2025 Toronto Argonauts on a weekly basis, some news around the CFL. And this Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, Nick and I are going to break down the Argos 29-19 loss to those Calgary Stampeders at BMO Field. So the Argos are now 0-2, heading into their next matchup this Friday, June 20th at 7:30 against the Saskatchewan Roughriders at BMO Field. You can get tickets at argonauts.ca or watch the game on TSN or listen to it on radio. TSN 1050 with Mike Hogan and Ben Grant, who do a great job of the radio coverage of the Toronto Argonauts as well. And I want to say thank you to their manager of media communications, Chris Belinovich, for my media opportunity. So please check out my social media pages for pictures, some videos, and some post-game interviews with Toronto Argonaut players and head coach Ryan Dinwiddie. And also, too, I had the pleasure of meeting Toronto Maple Leafs legendary radio announcer Joe Bowen, who's been doing the Leaf games for 44 years. Joe has announced this 25-26 NHL season with the Maple Leafs. His 45th season will be his last season. So even though I'm not a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, I really hope Joe Bowen does get to call at least one Stanley Cup championship in his great career. So congratulations to Joe Bowen. And it was a pleasure having 5 minutes to talk to Joe about his career and also to get a picture with him as well. And Joe is a huge Notre Dame fan, and his son is a big part of the Toronto Argonauts organization, Sean Bowen, who is a friend of mine as well. So the Toronto Argonauts hopefully will get back in the winning column this Friday night against Saskatchewan. If you've never been to a CFL game or Toronto Argonauts game, I highly recommend it. They do a great job with the in-game presentation and the on-field product, and BMO Field is one of the nicest football stadiums out there as well. And as we wrap up the show, guys, again, brought to you by Barry Collins Chevrolet here in Guelph. Right now at Barry Collins Chevrolet here in Guelph, you can check out a 2025 Corvette Stingray and a Corvette E-Ray. You can finance from 1.99% up to 60 months. More details at barrycollin.com or drop by the dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall and tell them that Chris Palme sent you as well. And they do have one of the Corvette Stingrays sitting in their showcase room, and it's a baby. It's not a baby blue, but it's a beautiful blue color one. And if I won the lottery, I would definitely buy one. So again, if you're out there and you're looking for a Corvette, check out Barry Collins Chevrolet dealership here in Guelph. As we wrap up the show, guys, I am on Cameo. If you'd like a personalized video message, birthday wishes, pep talk, want to talk sports, ask me questions about my media work or the Toronto Argonauts, go to cameo.com and type in Chris Palme, and I'd be happy to do a personalized video message for you, and the proceeds will go to my media work as well. So again, check me out on cameo.com and book your Cameo today. You can also follow me on Blue Sky Social at Live with CDP 19 on Blue Sky Social. And as we wrap up this show, guys, If you're in the Cambridge area and you're looking to adopt a pet, check out the Cambridge District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario. Telephone number 519-623-7722, extension 0, or visit their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. All the animals that are up for adoption, their profiles are on their website, cambridgehumanesociety.org. And if you're looking to volunteer like I do twice a week as a dog walker, go to cambridgehumanesociety.org and fill out a volunteer application form there as well. And they do a wonderful job in looking after our homeless furry friends and making sure they get adopted into the right families and right homes. And they do a great job. And also, they're also looking for cat litter, dog food, cat food, bedding, gift cards to the Dollarama store. If you're able to help out with a food donation or a cash donation, please consider doing so. And the Cambridge District Humane Society is right across from where the Cambridge Centre Mall is, and they do a great job there again as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, is live streamed on these platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, X, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. And make sure you follow and subscribe. My website, if you want to check out my media work, and my WordPress site where I just finished writing an article for the Toronto Argonauts game against Calgary, go to beacons.ai/Chris D. Palme. Again, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is proudly sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph. Check out their website, barrycullen.com. Yes, I am a content creator. You can follow me on TikTok at Chris Palme and check out my Toronto Argonauts content on my TikTok page as well. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting, check out StreamYard.com. Yours truly has been with StreamYard now for over 4 years. Big thumbs up as well. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, the audio version is available on these platforms: iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, Tuned In, YouTube Music, and Good Pods. And please remember to hit follow and subscribe there as well. And thank you to my audience in 45 countries around the world for listening to Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Finally, guys, you can email the show, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, at cpalme19@gmail.com. Any comments, questions, suggestions would be greatly appreciated. And if you'd like to buy the host a coffee or tip the host because you're a fan of the show and want to support my media work, I am on PayPal. You can PayPal me at cpalme19@gmail.com if you'd like to buy me a coffee or support my talk show and my media work, which I love doing as well. Finally, guys, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, X, Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky Social, which I just mentioned, LinkedIn, and also please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Go to Chris Palme Live with CDP Talk Show, hit the subscribe, like notification, and I want to say thank you to my 632 subscribers, and I'm up to now 435,000 views on my YouTube channel. And check out my YouTube Shorts page there as well. And that wraps up our show today. Again, guys, I want to say thank you to my guest, Denise Bodán. Denise Bodán, pardon me. She's an executive director and producer with Fugo Pictures out of Kitchener-Waterloo. And looking forward to seeing her mini-series called The Ropes, which will be premiering on Bell Fibe TV this October as well. And please check her out on social media as well. And that is about it. Again, the next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show to be announced with more guests and shows coming up soon. And remember to check out the Argo Balance podcast show with Nick Small and myself this Wednesday, June 18th, 7 o'clock. Me and Nick are going to break down the Argos 29-19 loss to Calgary and preview their upcoming game against Saskatchewan. And we're gonna probably have a special guest join us as well. Somebody, I don't want to name, I'm not gonna say who it is, but they're gonna pop by our show who's well connected with the Canadian Football League. And that's the thing about the Argo Bounce podcast show. You just never know which guest is going to come on. And Nick Small does a great job as my co-host as well. So again, thank you to Denise Bodán for coming on here. And thank you everyone watching this live stream and on my audio platforms. And we'll see you back here on live streaming on Wednesday night, 7 o'clock with the Argo Bounce podcast show. And we'll be back soon with another edition of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet here in Guelph. Have a great afternoon, everybody, and enjoy your day. And NBA Finals Game 5 tonight, Indiana, Oklahoma, Game 5, series tied 2-2, 8:30 tip-off. We'll see you back here Wednesday night at 7 o'clock for the Argo Bounce podcast show with Nick Small.